if you don't want to lose games as black. Then the kid, which is the king's Indian defense, is here for you. Let's begin. White can play any move they want. We usually play the kid when white starts off with d4 and we go knight f6, then they play c4, pawn g6, knight c3, bishop to g7, king's pawn. Then we play d6, knight to f3, and finally we castle before white. This is the main variation. And in every game, you have to maintain this structure, especially the beautiful castle that you give to the king. Now, let's go back. So, in the start if white plays e4, then you must play d6, which is the perk defense. So, if you want a tutorial on that, then give me 200 likes. Now, let's continue with the standard variation. White plays bishop to e7. And we play knight to a6, which protects the c7 pawn from the future knight attacks. White castles and we play e5. Now, white can either exchange or march forward. Now, if white takes, we exchange the pawns and the wives of the kings. Bishop attacks knight from g5. Pawn h6, we exchange bishops. Knight to d5 and we slide back the bishop to g7. Now, let's go back. Now, if white decides to march forward, we march our knight to c5, giving pressure to e4. Queen to c2. We play pawn to a5. Now, black's bishop can go two ways. If bishop goes e3, then it is good for us. The other pawns are light squared and the dark squared bishop is more powerful here. Pawn to b6. Bishop takes, we take back and we have a strong pawn structure. Now, if before, bishop chooses to play g5, trying to pin our queen, we just kick him out to e3 and we have the same idea as before. Now, I'm going to show you a trap. So, after we castle, white can choose to play bishop to d3. We play bishop to g4, attacking the pony, which is the defender of the d-pawn. Pawn attacks, we take horsey and the queenie takes the bishop. Now, bring out our pony and white usually goes in two ways. Either marching the weakling or the bishop. If pawn attacks, we jump to d4, attack the queen and getting more central control. Let's go back. Now if bishop goes to e3, we bring back the pony, opening the file for our bishop, which double attacks the d4 pawn. Now black usually moves his knight back for defense. Now, subscribe to me, so that you can destroy white. Now, we play the killer move, knight to e5, forking the queen and the bishop. The pawn will take the free knight and we take the pawn back with the other pony, giving the same fork. Queen to g3, we check the king. King moves and we take the pawn. King attacks the knight and we take another pawn. Rook backs up king and we open file for queen with c5. King moves back, we give armor to horse. Now, white brings out another rook for show-off and we bring out our queenie. White decides to attack the queen with bishop to d2. And we just give the king a check with our knight. White can't take the queen as it's in check. The queen has to take and we just kill the queen of the king. I'm sure that people who are subscribed will win from this position without stalemate. Now, let's look at another variation. So, after e4, d6. Many choose to play pawn to f3, which enables them to take out their bishop and the queen, castle in their queen's side and finally march forward with their battalion to the king's side when we castle. So, we really just castle. Bishop e3. And we play c5. Now white can go usually in three ways. First is to march forward, second is to take the pawn, or lastly bring out their knight. So, if white marches the pawn forward, we play e6. White plays queen d2 and we exchange the pawns. Now, we have a Bunoni-type pawn structure. Let's go back the moves. Now, if white decided to take the pawn, then we take back. We exchange the queens and you bring out the rook. White takes free pawn. We scare the priest. We take out the knights and we have a lot of squares in our control. On the contrary, white is more open and struggling to castle. So, again to that point. So, here if white decides to bring out the knight, we bring out our knight. Queen d2, our pawn to e6. White brings pawn forward, we exchange pawns. Knight to e5. Now, we again have a similar Benoni pawn structure as before, and subscribing will make winning easier. Now, let's see another variation, called the 4-pawn variation. Here, after e4, d6, white plays f4. Now we castle. Pony to f3, and we play pawn to c5. Pawn marches. Pawn to e6, bishop out, we exchange pawns and we again have the Benoni-type pawn structure. Now we attack their pony, castles, we take pony and bishop takes back. It makes moving in congested position easier for our knights. Now, we must play our rook to e8 to regulate moves in the e-file. Now, white's rook to comes out, we play pawn to a6 to prepare b5, but white plays pawn to a4, regulating our move. Now we can take out our queen to a5 and we have far greater control than white. So, the main stuff you have to remember is to first take out the knight, bishop, and castle the king to build this beautiful structure. Then try to get your pawns into a Benoni structure, then bring the rook to e-file. Then march forward with your battalion to the king side. Then destroy white with all your rooks and queens. Thank you, and that's for today.